So Fiona, you are in Berlin right now?
Yes, I am. Yeah. Yeah. The big city.
Where exactly do you live?
I live in Darmstadt, but I'm moving to Berlin. So
you're moving.
Yeah, I'm going to move in October. So yeah.
Awesome. We have a few people coming in already. Welcome, people.
Welcome. We have Diego, we have Leonardo, and we have Rafael.
Okay, Fiona, the show is yours. I'm going to let Caio do the introduction, and let's have a great time here listening to you.
Sounds good.
Go ahead.
So first of all, thank you, Diego, Leonardo, and Rafael. We are going to respect your that you are right on time. Right? Yes, and then we are going to start right away. We have today Fiona. Fiona, she's going to present herself, so I'm not giving any spoiler for you now. But first of all, many thanks for being here. This is a great opportunity for you to practice your English with native speakers. And then I'll let Fiona assume the stage. It's yours, Fiona. And then welcome everyone who's coming and also who is going to watch this video later. We are going to record this session so you can practice later and check the presentation as well if you want.
Super. Okay, then I'll take over. Hello, everyone. My name's Fiona Godden. I'm originally from Scotland, but I currently live in Germany. I've been in Germany now for 16 years, and I've also been working at Berlitz in Germany for 16 years. So in my job, I am the area manager of instruction for Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. This means that I'm in charge of the teaching aspect of Berlitz in these three countries. But luckily today I have the honor of being able to talk about one of my favorite topics in the whole world, which is football. I was really happy to have this opportunity to get to exchange some ideas with you all about the sport of football, because as I said, it is really one of my great passions, and I've been supporting it, I would say, most of my adult life. So when I was younger, my brother played football, and he played football on a Saturday morning, and he played football on a Saturday afternoon. And on the way home from his football games, we had to listen to all the results. And so it was kind of like one of these things that I would either learn to love it or I would learn to hate it. And I learned to love it. So one of the things about football, and this is actually going to be the topic of the presentation today, is many people, especially friends of mine who don't like football, they often say to me, well, why do you like football, Fiona? You know, what's the point of it? And this led me to think about, okay, well, what could we look at today? And I thought, okay, well, we can look at the question, is football indescribable? So football, indescribable, or is it? So I just want to take you through some parts about me. So as you can see here, these are my two national teams. So you can see here, I'm originally from Scotland, and I'm a big Scotland fan. As you can see, I've got my shirt on today. And it's not always easy being a Scotland football fan. We'll come to that a little bit later. There are positives to it. There are also many negatives to it. But as I'm sure you also know, the minute your heart starts beating for that country, it's like that forever. But as I said, about 16 years ago, I moved to Germany. And yeah, you can see here, I have a Germany shirt on. So if and when Scotland aren't in the tournament, my second team is, of course, Germany. And as of about 3 years ago, I actually became a German citizen. So I'm allowed to be a German supporter as well. Yeah, as I said, it's very different. Two very different types of teams, in the sense of, you know, for Scotland, it's very difficult to qualify for tournaments. We're a small country, around about 5 million inhabitants, and this means we have less of a choice than Germany. Although we did play against Brazil in 1998 in the opener of the World Cup, and we actually lost 2-1, sadly. In the second half, we scored an own goal, which meant that Brazil ended up winning 2-1. So, but for us, that was almost a win against such a big country. So we were really happy with that. with Germany, as you may be aware, up until now, we won 4 World Cups. So let's see what happens next year in Qatar. This is my home team. So I live in a city called Darmstadt, which is kind of in the middle of Germany. It's near Frankfurt. And yeah, this is the name of the team. It's called SV Darmstadt 98. So SV is for the sports club. That's the German word for sports club. Darmstadt is the city, and it was founded in 1898. So that's where the name comes from. You can see this is me with the lucky hat, which I also have with me today, just to show you that it's still going strong. It's been a roller coaster also being a Darmstadt fan. I moved to Darmstadt in 2008. And when I moved here, they were a regional team. So in the regional state of Hessen, so in the south of Germany. And yeah, there was lots of, I can tell you the stadium was never this full, like you can see on this photograph. And then we managed to get promoted to the 3rd league. And we stayed there for a while. And then unfortunately in 2014, we got relegated. So relegated means when you go down a league on the last day of the season. So that was, once you're back in the regional league, it's very difficult to get out. However, we had luck on our side. Maybe it was the lucky hat. For one of the clubs, which is actually our biggest rival, they went bankrupt, so they didn't have enough money. So Darmstadt got to stay in the 3rd league. And this is what led to this wonder of a run that Darmstadt had. And they went from 2014 to 2015. They made it to the relegation game to go from the 3rd league up to the 2nd league. And this game always takes part in 2 legs. So there's always 1 leg at home and 1 leg away. The first game at home, we lost 3-1 to a team called Bielefeld. So we thought we had no hope, but that's always a factor in football, isn't it? You think you have no hope. And then what happened was we went to the game in Bielefeld, and after 90 minutes, it was 3-1 to us. So it was all square. And then in extra time, Bielefeld scored first. So they were then ahead. And then we scored in the 121st minute, which meant that we won on away goals and we got promoted to the 2nd league, which was just one of the craziest nights ever, as you can maybe imagine in the town of Darmstadt. So we were in the 2nd league, and then even crazier that year, we went from the 2nd league to the Bundesliga. So we managed to go straight from 4-3-2-1 right up. And then we stayed in the Bundesliga for 2 seasons. So we managed to stay in 1 season. But as you can maybe see from this photograph with the stadium, we're a smaller club, we're a traditional club. And so, yeah, after 2 seasons, we got relegated back down to the 2nd league, and we have been there ever since. But this photo's from the 2nd league. You can see fairly happy. Everyone's very excited. So we're hoping that hopefully we can all get back into the stadium soon and start singing and maybe see some goals again. So that's a little bit about my football teams. I'm just going to continue on. So as I said, one thing I decided to concentrate on when presenting this topic to you was giving you some words that I feel describe football really well, also with some stories attached to these words. So from different places in Europe, not only Scotland and Germany, although there will be some from Scotland and Germany, but just, yeah, to show you, to give you some new words there. So the first one, when I click on here, is heartwarming. Okay, I think there are many stories that you can choose for heartwarming when you just think, oh, that was so great. But the story I've decided to choose was the story of this man here in the photograph, who is called Abel Rodriguez. And he lives in Los Angeles in the US, and he is a really big Real Madrid fan. So from in Spain, as you can maybe see from the strip here. And every summer, he takes 2 weeks work holiday from his job, and he goes and he volunteers at the camp where Real Madrid train. Okay, so this means that when he goes and he works there for free and he cleans up the pitches. It was always his dream to see an El Clasico, so Real Madrid against Barcelona. And he wanted to save enough money for him and his family to go across. However, he couldn't save enough money, but his family said to him, come on, it's your dream, on you go. So he managed to get a flight from LA over to Spain. And when he got to Spain, he didn't have anywhere to stay, and he didn't have a ticket for the game, but he thought, I'm just going to try my luck. He was sitting outside the stadium when the team bus came in, and Jose Mourinho, who was the trainer at the time, looked out the window and saw him sitting there. And he recognized him from Los Angeles. So he knew, okay, hang on, that's the guy that works for us when we're in Los Angeles. So he stopped and he said to him, why are you here? What are you doing? He said, oh yeah, I really wanted to join the game, go and see the game, but I don't have a ticket. So I was just waiting to see if I could get one and then come in. So what's such a lovely story about this, Jose Mourinho then said, come on, just come with us, we'll take you in. And he got to go in and see the El Clasico game with the Real Madrid team. To put the cherry on top of that, after that game, the next week, they were playing a Champions League game against Manchester United. So he even went with them from Spain over to Manchester, and he got to be the kit man for them.
Wow,
the kit man is
Fiona.
When he's in charge of all the strips. So he was on the pitch, he was making sure they all had their strips, and got to meet all the Manchester United players as well.
Wow, and that was done by José Mourinho?
Yes.
Wow, that's a great story.
Yes. I believe it was around about 2013, I want to say. So, yeah.
And so his name is, what's the name of the guy again?
Abel Rodriguez.
Abel Rodriguez. Yeah. LA, right? He's in Los Angeles.
Yes, okay. Exactly.
Awesome story.
So that's, I think it's also a nice story to know that you can be the biggest fan and make it your dream to go there and make it happen. So, I mean, that's one thing that I think that's, really nice about this story. Of course, where there's heartwarming, there is also heartbreaking. And I mean, I think any football fan, we could all choose a number of stories, which is summed up by the word of heartbreaking. I know I can. I'm sure you can as well. As currently was the end of the Euros, I'm sure you're aware, England lost on penalties to Italy. And I mean, this photo just sums up how, I mean, the guy did a fantastic job, 19 years old, stood up to take the last penalty, but whether you believe in destiny or not, I mean, it was just not meant to be for the English. And yeah, I mean, you can see here, yeah, I mean, as I said, I think everyone thinks, if you think of your national team, I mean, I'm sure, playing Germany when Brazil lost 7-1 also wasn't a great experience. We'll come to that later, though. I can tell you from Scotland, I could name numerous things. The story about Darmstadt, where I just said, where they got relegated down to the regional league. And I think what's really interesting about football is it stays heartbreaking for a relative amount of time after the game. So it's not just the end of the 90 minutes and you watch it, shake it off your hands and off you go. It stays with you for quite a long time. And it's together with all of these positive feelings that you have with football that kind of keeps you watching, or at least it's what keeps me watching, because there's always the hope, like this is how England are feeling at the moment. But as you know, Qatar's next year, who knows what will happen? Maybe, the heartbreak will turn to a dream come true. You just never know. And I think that's one of the main things that keeps fans interested in the sport, and in any sport really, not just football, but keeps us all interested to find out, okay, when heartbreak turns to just sheer happiness and delight. So I'm just gonna move on to the next word, which is the word inspiring. And this is a really, really interesting story from actually my local club in Darmstadt. So from the Darmstadt 98 club. And you can see I've also got a similar or the same band on that's in the picture. And this came about because we had a fan in Darmstadt who was born in 1990. So you can see he's a younger guy. And when in about 2013, I believe, he was, sorry, it was earlier than that. He was initially diagnosed with cancer. So they found a tumor in his brain and they operated on it, and he was okay after that. So basically before he got the operation, he played a lot of tennis. I don't know if anybody follows tennis, but he played with Petkovic, who is also from Darmstadt. And he was a bit of a rising star, but then, you know, unfortunately, he initially had this, he got this disease, and they operated, and then he was fine. So then he went back, he trained himself up, etc., started playing tennis again. And then unfortunately, he got, the cancer came back, this time in his spine. And this is when friends of his actually wrote to him in German. This is obviously a German story. And they said, you have to fight. If you keep fighting, then, you know, you'll manage to beat it. And in German, the phrase is "Du musst kämpfen." Okay. And he took this on board, and he really did fight. He managed to get better. He managed to get walking out of, he didn't have to use a wheelchair. He managed to get walking again. And with this phrase, because this was a phrase that he really identified with, he decided, okay, I'm going to start raising money for sick children. So I'm going to start selling these bands. So you can see here, and they sold them for, I believe it was around about €2, and collected some money so that he could donate it to charity. Okay. And yeah, so this started as quite a small project, and it was actually in the same year as when our football team got relegated down to the regional league, and then got the chance again to stay in the third league. So when we had that game in Bielefeld, where we were wanting to get promoted to the second league, they all of the staff in the football team wore these bands, because we thought, okay, you know, this phrase, you have to fight, was something that we took on board as a team. And you know, when he was well enough, Johnny also came to the stadium too, because unfortunately the cancer came back again a third time. And yeah, unfortunately in 2016, he didn't manage to beat it a third time. And yeah, he passed away in March in 2016. Before he passed away in 2015, they made a company called Du musst kämpfen, so GmbH. So it's a formal company and an official company where people can donate money. They do different fundraising events. They still sell these bands. And after he passed away, the football team, they made special football strips with the phrase, you know, you need to fight, du musst kämpfen, on it, and they sold these as well. So actually, since this has started, they've raised over €1 million, and they've donated the €1 million to sick children in the area. And it's something where they keep collecting the money. And I think, from what is obviously it's a very sad story, but it's also very inspiring to know that you can take something so negative and turn it around and inspire not only yourself, but other people as well.
Fiona, we have a saying here in Brazil. Mm-hmm. We say, não é só futebol, which means it's not only football. It's like a slogan that we have here. And this presents so much, this feeling that it's not football, it's much more than that. And how strong can something be, such as this campaign with Jonathan, or you guys call him Johnny Himes?
Yeah. So yeah, you call him Johnny, and Hymas is his last name. Yeah.
Fantastic story. There are some questions already for you.
Sure.
Guys, to ask you at the end when you finish the slides. So Leonardo wants to know a very interesting question. He wants to, I'm going to see if he can ask it to you live at the end. So go ahead.
Okay.
And then, guys, if you want to make comments, just shoot them in the chat. And if you want something like I did now, if you feel like saying, write in the chat or raise your hand, and Kyle will give you the microphone so you can interact with Fiona, okay?
Definitely. Yeah, please feel free, ask away. Perfect. Okay, so moving on to the next one then. Along a similar lines, actually, is inspiring, and it leads on very well to this phrase that you have in Brazil. I'm not going to try and say that phrase, but that phrase that you have in Brazil, because now we come to what is life-changing. And you may recognize the guy on the slide here. So this is Marcus Rashford. He's an English footballer and plays for the club Manchester United. It's very big football, very, very famous footballer, very good footballer. And basically, so what he did, which is why I came up with the word life-changing, was at the start of the pandemic, which in Europe started in about March 2020, okay? Roughly. And that's when we went into lockdown. And for Marcus Rashford, he is one of 5 children. So his mother had 5 children. And when he was younger, his mum had jobs, like about 3 jobs, to make sure that she raised enough money so that she could, you know, keep the kids fed, keep them healthy. And one thing that was really, really helpful to the family was in Great Britain and in England, when you go to school from the morning until late afternoon, okay? And at lunchtime, you get hot food. You always do. So you get it's called a school dinner. And so for a lot of kids, this school dinner was the only hot meal a day they got. And this was the case with Marcus. And so when the pandemic happened and the schools shut, they, of course, these kids who are currently can't afford to have meals, they were like, the meals that they were being offered were stopped. So what happened then here was Marcus Rashford started a campaign, mainly through social media, also to the government, to make sure that kids got free food vouchers. And a voucher is something like that was written on it, you can use this for food. So it would be food vouchers for supermarkets, let's say for £10, where they could take it into the supermarket and get food for this voucher. And this initially started for the first lockdown. So it was during the Easter holidays. So here around about April time. And then in the summer, the government wanted to stop the program. But he continued to fight for it, and he managed to get it so that the kids also got the food vouchers over summer and into the next lockdown as well. So this is still an ongoing thing. It's still an ongoing campaign. The Queen made him a member to the British Empire. So once a year, she nominates people to get MBEs. And that's what it stands for, Member of the British Empire. And this is an acknowledgement to show what you've done for the community. And what he's done is since this, 1.3 million children in England have the right or have the chance now to get these free food vouchers.
Wow.
And that's all, yeah. And that's all, I believe Marcus Rashford is about 22. Yeah. So.
And one thing you mentioned, Fiona, the hot meal. Mm-hmm. This is so powerful too, because the opportunity to have one hot meal in the day for kids was taken away due to a huge thing, the pandemics, and he sort of got around it to get those food vouchers and have them have this food. This is so inspiring, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think it shows, I think there are many words you can use to describe this, but I think using his platform as a famous footballer and being able to have that kind of power behind you and that desire to make sure that the kids can have hot food is just, yeah, as you said, incredibly inspiring and life-changing. As you can see, you can often just intersperse these words and change them around and use them for lots of different examples. There are many footballers. This was just one example that I took of somebody who's used their fame and their platform on social media for good and to help in a different to help in a certain campaign. There are many others. I mean, I'm sure there are some many in Brazil too, but I just thought that because of the current times we're in, etc., this was just a really nice one to talk about. So we had life-changing. And then this is also one of these words where I could have picked a million stories, but I've decided to go with this one because, again, it's current, and I've gone for the word unifying, which means bringing people together. Now, I'm not sure if you wanted to, or if you watched any of the Euros. I know there's a little bit of a time difference, but in the first game, Denmark against Finland, the Denmark player Christian Eriksen, he's their number 10, so he's also one of their most famous players, or most prominent players. He plays in Italy. He was just at the side of the pitch, and he just collapsed. And I was watching the game live on TV, and it was really, really strange. Wasn't sure entirely what had happened. And then the entire team just formed a bubble, like a circle around him, and you knew something really wasn't right. So as we know, happily, this is a happy ending. The story, he was fine. He had heart problems, and they managed to get him to hospital in time. And the reactions of his captain and of the medical staff there ensured that his life was saved. And what I thought was really interesting, and why I chose this story for unifying, is over the next week or so, especially as the game initially happened, you had the Danish players and the Finnish players, and they all sat together and were unified, and just this is where it becomes that football is only a game. There are bigger things. And then as the tournament continued between each of the teams, they swapped shirts. They wanted to make sure he was okay. And I think in a sport where often we're trained to be against our opposition, like Scotland and England are rivals in football, Germany and England, we have Brazil, and I'm sure and Germany. And we often have these rivalries where we're meant to be against each other. And this just shows, as soon as something happens where from a personal point of view, from a people point of view, we all stop, we put football to one side, we all get together and we move on. And there are many stories like this. There was the Eriksen one, there was the one with the football teams in France when the stadium got bombed, etc. So I know it kind of feels like a few negative stories, but I always try and see the greater good in these stories and see how it brings people together and shows that we can move on as one, and then go back to the pitch for 90 minutes and have our, okay, we want to win, but then at the end, it's to make sure that everybody's healthy and fine.
But Fiona, if we think of it in these pandemic times, we have been short of good emotions, and these facts that have happened, they really unify people around a certain purpose. And I think this Eriksen episode was so strong for those who were watching it live. We've had here in Brazil in the past, in a game Palmeiras and São Caetano, a guy who unfortunately he fell on the pitch and he passed away. And similar to what happened to Eriksen, but it was good enough and very happily that he survived, and he was already woken up. He was conscious on the field, right? And he didn't know what was happening, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was just shows the quick reaction. I mean, you have to say to the medical staff and also of his captain, who realized immediately that it was very, very serious. This was also deciding factors, and I think this way everyone just worked together, and then moving on, everybody decides to work together. And you see it with lots of different campaigns they have in football, where different fans work with each other. This action of the bands, you can use these words in so many different situations. So so this might be one that looks familiar. to you all.
Oh my God.
I know. So yeah, in some ways with these, I think these are very good contrasting photographs. So as you may know, in the first one with Ronaldo, that's from the World Cup in 2002, and I think we all know what happens there. We can see Oliver Kahn in the background there, and then from the World Cup in 2014 with David Luiz, you see here looking slightly devastated, and that's why I chose these two words of exhilarating and devastating, because you can see here just again, you will know this more than I do because you are Brazilian and you lived it and you felt it. What I can only tell you is from a Germany point of view. So as I said, I am a German fan, but I'm not German in that sense. And in that game where Brazil lost 7-1, I'm sure for you the right word would be devastating. For Germans and for us, it was kind of more disbelief. Like I remember we were all sitting outside and it was summer and we were watching the football and the first goal went in. Everyone, oh yeah, like exhilarating, really, really happy. The second goal goes in, everybody's really, really happy. The third goal goes in and everybody's really happy. The fourth goal goes in and people start getting confused as to what's going on. I mean, I presume it was probably a similar feeling with you guys.
Definitely,
as well.
Fiona, because it was in a short span of time.
Yeah.
It was from the 20th minute, I believe, to the 30th. 4 goals were scored, one after the other.
Yeah. And I mean, it was just, and that's why when it got higher to 5th, 6th, and 7th, and then Brazil scored one as well, you know, there was just this kind of bubble of disbelief. But before I came to this presentation, I thought, okay, I'll ask some German friends of mine, because I said my heart beats for Scotland 100% and 99% for Germany. So I double checked with the team, and you know, they were like, it is possibly one of the best nights of football they've had. And why? Because they didn't see it coming. And I think, again, that's another thing that sums football up. If you don't see it coming, it can either be the best thing you experience, so exhilarating, like you see Ronaldo here celebrating, or it could be devastating, heartbreaking, a word we used earlier as well, where you can just feel like it's kind of like the floor coming out from underneath you. And, you know, I think one thing that I've learned or seen while watching different games, I think at least with teams like Brazil and Germany, there's always this kind of change around. You know, you always have this, okay, basically you always win and once in a while you lose. For someone from Scotland, we have qualified for a tournament 11 times and we've never made it out of the group. So it's kind of like I live in hope that we'll qualify for Qatar and we'll make it out. But you can see here, you know, as I said, for the bigger teams, for Brazil, for Germany, for France, for Argentina, you know, there are many big teams where this movement of most of the time it is exhilarating with the odd devastation in between. Yeah, I'll be interested to hear at the end of the tournament, guys, how you remember these 2 days. Feel free to write in any words that you can describe it in the box as well, because I'm sure you remember them both very well. So,
guys, if you want to participate now, you can write in the chat how you felt in 2002 and how you felt in 2014. Fiona has just taught us 2 new words: exhilarating in 2002. And devastated in 2014. Yeah, very
super. I'll move on here. So I've kind of moved on from how we feel to the uniqueness of football. I think sport in itself can be unique, but there's something very unique about football. So this is me, as you can maybe tell. And in 2018, I went to Madagascar for 2 months and taught kids English. And this was my little... Yes, 2 months. Yeah,
awesome. So, Madagascar.
Yeah, it was. I can really recommend it. And this was my kindergarten group. So these were the younger ones. But in Madagascar, so their native language is Malagasy, and their second language is French, because it was a French colony. So English is really, really the third language, and there's not a huge need for English. But it was a volunteer program, and I went over and, as I said, taught them. And what really surprised me was there was lots of general knowledge missing. So maybe geography, they didn't really obviously know where Scotland was, etc. But they did know who Messi was. They did know who Ronaldo was, and they all supported Paris Saint-Germain because that was the French team.
Okay.
And you know what was also great, this is actually the football field in the background here. So what we did was we did active English lessons. We had a ball and we went around and we learned just verbs like to score a goal.
Nice.
Not with this age group, the slightly older ones, and to pass, etc. And I really believe this is something that is unique. It's unique about certain footballers as well, that people like Portuguese Ronaldo, or it really is at the moment Ronaldo or Messi, David Beckham as well, actually, that they have this star quality that it just goes everywhere. So that, you know, in a town with, you know, 200 people or so in Madagascar, that they know who these footballers are. And I really do think that's something that makes football entirely unique to maybe looking at other sports. So
very nice.
Yeah. So I do also keep an eye on the Madagascar football team and see how they do. So they did manage to qualify for the last Cup of Nations, in Africa. So yeah, and then so this one here, emotional. I think we all go through different roller coasters of emotions, and hopefully with some of the words that I've just presented to you, you can use them when describing watching games. And it is really interesting, I think, the effect that sport, and for me especially football, has on me. I get very, very happy when Scotland qualify or Darmstadt win, but I can also be heartbroken, as we've spoken about before, for hours on end, and it can change like that in the split of a second, as you know, you are all aware as well. So I actually started off this presentation with the question, football indescribable, or is it? And I hope that I've shown that there are many words that you can use to describe football. However, sometimes I think it's also a case of it is indescribable. If you don't follow football as much and you're not interested in football as much, you might think, oh yeah, I'm not so interested in this. So to show you really sometimes how emotions can speak louder than any word I can teach you or show you today, I've got a little video, and to explain the background of the video, it's to do with Scotland and this current European Championship. Okay, so we qualified, which was the first time in 23 years. So for me, maybe definitely the first time that I could really remember us being there. And in typical Scotland fashion, we were playing Serbia and we were winning 1-0. Okay, so it was all looking good. And then it got to the 89th minute. And I'm sure any of you that follow football, you know exactly what happened in the 89th minute. Of course, Serbia scores a goal, okay? And that's where this video starts us off, okay? And it's all about, I can promise you there's a happy end, otherwise I might not show this video. But I just wanted to show you it. So I'm just gonna stop sharing and share the video then with you. So 1 second. What's the computer sound? So as you can see here, this is the 89th minute 28. Okay, so this is when it starts to go a little bit wrong for us. So Here we go.
Almost up. It's Mladenovic to take this corner for Serbia. Oh, it's in from Luka Jovic. Oh no! Oh no for Scotland!
Your eyes are full of hesitation.
With another penalty shootout.
Sure makes me wonder.
McGinn squeezed the first
You
one
know
in
what
against
you're
Israel.
looking for.
He's been subbed, so to Christie, so to Dykes.
Baby,
But at least Lee Griffiths is there, even though the keeper got a touch on it.
I'm a sensation.
Alexander Mitrovic.
You try me once, you're back for more. Yes, sir, I can boogie, but I need a certain song. I can boogie, boogie, woogie, all night long. Yes, sir, I can boogie. If you stay, you can't go wrong. I can boogie, boogie, woogie.
Is over!
Scotland are going to the Euros!
Don't adjust your radio. Scotland are going to a major tournament.
Wanna know if I can dance? Yes, sir.
Scotland will be part of Euro 2020!
I could freaking
And the
Come on, eh? Yes!
But I'll give you one more chance. Yes, sir. I can boogie, but I need a certain song. I can boogie, boogie, woogie, all night long. Yes, sir. I can boogie if you stay.
Just for everything, you know. Oh, God.
Oh mate, unbelievable. Big Marsh, national hero. Lost for words, everybody's buzzing.
David Marshall, Christie shoots and it goes and hits a net. David Marshall, na 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 na. David Marshall.
14th of June 2021. Get it in the diary. Scotland are back.
Felt the love back home, and we felt how much they could give everyone in a really tough time a lift, and I hope everyone parties at home tonight.
Gives us a night we will never forget. David Marshall.
Brilliant. Bring on the Euros, boys. Well done to everybody. Magic. As you can hear, I am buzzing.
I wanted to get Scotland back to where it was, and now we've done it. So we have to do well in the Euros now.
Saved! Scotland are going to the Euros! Unbelievable!
So I hope you managed to see that okay, and the quality was okay. If not, feel free to Google it. Yeah, so as you can see, I think the pictures there and everybody jumping around and kind of sums it up maybe better than words can. And you can see that's Scotland when we qualify for something. So could you actually imagine if we won something? I think the country would go berserk. So yeah, so I mean, it's one thing that's really, really interesting. And it's one thing that I love about Scotland, I love about football, is that, you know, it can bring out that type of emotion in you, and more than anything else, it brings us all together, which is maybe what we need more than most at the moment. And this was my little football team in Madagascar. We had a tournament. We did not bad. We didn't win, but, you know, we held our own. And yeah, so I mean, I hope this presentation has maybe taught you some words, maybe, yeah, so that when you talk about football in English. And yeah, I mean, it's up to you. It's up to you to decide whether you think you can describe football or not. So thank you so much for your attention.
Fiona, this was fantastic and exhilarating, heartwarming. And I have two questions here from the guys. Guys, do you want to, Caio, can you give Mateus the microphone? Mateus, would you please be so kind as to say what you wrote in the chat to Fiona? And Leonardo says it's too noisy where he is. Diego is saying thank you very much. Fantastic stories. He loved it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Mateus, Kyle, can you enable Mateus? Yeah, here's Mateus. Mateus, if you can open your mic and ask your question right away. I don't know if he's here.
I can just stop sharing.
No, I believe he left. Yes.
It's because it's lunchtime, Fiona.
Yeah, no, I know everybody has to go back to work. No, I completely understand.
But Leonardo asked a question that he asked me to ask you.
Sure.
And I'm going to ask the question to you. What do you feel about the Brazilian national team nowadays? What do you think? What do you reckon of the team?
Oh, that's a good question. Feel slightly put on the spot. Yeah, I mean, they were quite disappointing in the last World Cup. To be perfectly honest, I don't watch so much of South American football. I follow more clubs and then European. I think the main thing with Brazil is with the stars. If you can get everyone playing as a team, then the chance of success is much bigger. And I'm super intrigued to see in Qatar. I mean, the team is really good. So I think it's going to be an interesting one.
Thank you very much. Everybody thanking and sending kudos in the chat. Kyle, we are almost over with the time. I don't know what you want to do because we had some gifts we were going to give, and I don't know how you want to go about it. We have some time left here.
Let me think. I believe we can give the prize later.
Okay, we're going to send everybody who was here with Fiona our little token of appreciation for you being here. And those of you who don't know what it is, I'm going to show a picture. You guys are going to get, we had more than 10 people live, okay, Fiona?
Super.
Good, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And thank you for joining me in your lunch break.
Yeah. Let me show an example of something that you guys will maybe get. We're going to...
We just need to check how many people we have, and then we're going to probably make a draw for that.
To make a draw, and
yes,
you guys some European clubs, futebol de botão. So I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you, Fiona, so much for your talk.
You're very welcome.
It's going to be available. And it was awesome having you over. It was great.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Berlitz Talks session in August.
See you. Bye.
Bye.